Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Mike Johnson from SCORE. You have mentioned that you really enjoy volunteering and that it has meant a lot to you. Why do SCORE members become SCORE members?
All right. Well, I gave that the question some thought myself after I'd been with SCORE for a while. And it was pretty easy for me to identify 5 reasons why people join SCORE and then stay with SCORE.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that most of us actually enjoyed the business world. And so without being totally immersed as we were in corporate careers or business careers, SCORE represents an opportunity to stay connected to the business world, at the same time bringing perhaps a little more balance to our lives than we had previously. A second reason is that I think virtually every person, man or woman, who joins SCORE welcomes an opportunity to give back to what I call the community at large.
Yeah.
Wherever our business careers might have taken us, there was this community at large which was instrumental in our success. A third reason, it's really nice to be working with a small business client and see the light shining in their eyes when they start to recognize more clearly the pathway to success. A fourth one, I think that many of us who join SCORE are lifelong learners.
Yeah.
And we often find ourselves learning from clients as they relate to various situations. And much of what we learn from them, of course, we can then apply with other clients that come our way.
True.
And lastly, I much enjoy the camaraderie that I and we enjoy with each other. There are 40 of us in this Canton Regional Chapter, and that is the official name, Canton
Mm-hmm.
Regional Chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So those seem to be some pretty solid reasons for wanting to be with SCORE.
Do you ever see yourself in some of these clients? You think, oh, I was you so many years ago.
Yeah, sure. In fact, although my career was with big companies, when I joined General Electric, I joined an operation that did not operate on a budget basis. We operated on a profit basis. So each small unit was responsible for earning a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And my unit had only about 20 people in it. And then, when I was promoted a couple levels, I found myself initially in charge of even a smaller unit, maybe 5 or 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
So although I was with a large company, it was very much a small business atmosphere. So I often think back on those early lessons I learned in a unit of a big company like that, and I'm pretty easily able to apply those to smaller businesses that are seeking our help.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure so many other people that might be in your shoes now or hearing this thinking, yeah, I probably ought to give back as well. This community's been awfully good to me, and it'd be nice to help the next generation along, pass the torch, so to speak.
Let me say that we at SCORE welcome new SCORE members. In fact, we have one of our members, he leads our recruitment team. And so we welcome people who are interested. And if they are interested, they can go to canton.score.org. They can go to, they can email us at Canton Score.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can look up our website and give us a call. But
Perfect.
we welcome people, and we go about it very professionally. When someone wants to join us, we'll interview that person and get a good fix on their background and what their aspirations are to join us. There is an application, and when the application is approved, they sit through about a 3-hour orientation that's done online at their convenience. They can do it in our SCORE offices or at
Nice.
home. And they get upon completing that, they do get a certificate. This leads to something else I should mention, too. Each SCORE member annually has to sign a code of ethics. I mentioned earlier, that all of our counseling is confidential. We certainly work to avoid anything that might resemble a conflict of interest. And that code of ethics is an annual reminder that we're going to work to very high standards of integrity.
Well, I think all of those kinds of things that you're mentioning make people feel pretty comfortable in being able to sign up. What's involved then at that point? Because good, solid training and a clearly identified job description, so to speak.
That's right.
But what then is involved?
Well, when a new volunteer joins us, one of the things they learn is that before we'll have them flying solo, They will be co-counseling with more veteran SCORE counselors with
Nice.
at least 3 clients before we would ask them to be the lead counselor in working with a client. And as you heard me say earlier, we often assemble teams, and so there's that aspect that is applied to our counseling work. We also offer members the opportunity to join the various committees that make any organization like ours go. We have our own HR committee, our own marketing committee, our own fundraising committee, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And as we are a 501c3 charitable organization, we do depend on the generosity of donors to provide the funding we need to operate a full-fledged consulting service.
Let's touch on that very next. How are you supported, and how can we help?
Okay, well, for the most part, a SCORE chapter depends for funding on entities that believe in our SCORE mission. Those entities would include foundations.
Mm-hmm.
They would also include accounting firms, banks, law firms, and individual donors who do believe in that mission. Each chapter gets a small percentage, 5 to 10%, from SCORE's headquarters operation in suburban Washington, D.C. And by the way, at that national level, you would see many well-known sponsors of SCORE. You would see AT&T, you would see FranNet, you would see the UPS stores,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. In other words, these are also entities who believe in the mission of SCORE.
It seems like it would be just a smart investment.
I think the entities that do provide financial support to us certainly view us that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every time that SCORE helps a business succeed or sustain some success or increase their success, we're contributing to the economic vitality of that area. And we should mention, too, that each SCORE chapter does have a defined geographic territory, and the Canton Regional Chapter helps organizations in a 5-county area. We are, of course, here in Stark, but we're also serving Tuscarora, Holmes, Harrison, and Carroll counties.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to the counseling, we should emphasize that we do workshops. Last year, we did more than 40 of them on a range of topics, from cash management to social media marketing to grant writing. And this year, I think we're going to be on track to do 60 or more of those workshops. And we do them throughout the 5 county regions.
Wow.
We'll do them in the offices of chambers of commerce or in public libraries or whatever sort of facility is available. And these are all open to the public. And we do not charge to attend those.
Wow.
And we usually have a package of handouts for people to take with them. And, of course, the attendees at those workshops are encouraged to then seek what we call that one-on-one counseling after they've attended one of these workshops. Or many of the people who attend those workshops are already SCORE clients who want to dive a little deeper into some particular topic.
You realize everything you're telling me sounds way too good to be true. We're speaking with Mike Johnson, a counselor with SCORE.
Yeah, but this is a case where you can say it sounds too good to be true because it is.
Yeah, true.
That's right.
But you bring the know-how to them. You'll go to the organization.
That's
You'll
right.
on-site
yeah,
counseling.
that's another good point. Now, we prefer initial meetings to take place at our SCORE offices,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because that's where we have a lot of resources. The templates we might access, forms we might need, and so on. But we are very willing and often do counseling on the premises of a small business. In fact, often we want to go visit a small business to see what they're doing and how they're doing it. And so that's part of our operation. In fact, our chapter is willing to do after-hours counseling, and in those cases, our counselors will meet with a client in a small conference room at a library or in a cafe, in a bookstore. But we don't limit ourselves to counseling between 9 and 5 because we know that some small business startups are the product of people who have full-time jobs and they simply can't get away during normal hours, so we'll do it after hours.
Because you are out and about and you're in the community and you're getting to meet the small business owner, from your perspective, how is the health of small business in our area?
I hesitate to give a blithe reply to that because I don't think we're looking at a one-size-fits-all situations. I think a better way to answer it is to say that the small business person or persons who have given a good deal of thought to what they want to do, who've done some research, are going to have a much better chance at succeeding in the long term than someone who has an idea, and maybe an idea about which they're passionate, but they really haven't done much homework. They really probably haven't committed any of that thinking to paper. We often hear someone say, yeah, I've got my business planning all up here in my head. And we look and say, okay, but if we could get it down on a computer screen or on paper, I think we might be better off. And you mentioned something earlier that bears repeating, and that is if a small business needs financial assistance, they really ought not to bother seeking it unless they've got the business plan in hand.
Yeah. So true. Nice to get those people who have failed at business to do some of the counseling for you. I think people who fail learn so much more than people who succeed.
Well, it's pretty difficult to get through a long career in business without experiencing some failure. It might be on the micro level where perhaps you've introduced an initiative that didn't go quite the way you wanted it to. It could also be macro in that, and I know in the course of my career I had to work through at least 4 major recessions, and those present huge challenges to a business and then to the various parts of a business. And sure, we draw on the lessons that we've learned during the good times as well as the lean times.
Sounds like the chapter has experienced quite a bit of success.
Yeah, our chapter has done an exemplary job of practicing what we preach. In fact, chapters are required by the SCORE headquarters to submit annual business plans, to submit annual sets of goals, to submit an annual report at the end of each year. And our chapter works to what we call KPIs, which stands for Key Performance Indicators. But those are measures that we use to track the progress that we're making toward the goals that we have established. And it really keeps us on track. I mean, if we're falling a little short in some area, we ask ourselves, why? And what can we do to correct course so that we do meet those objectives? And so, yes, the chapter for the last 2 years has been named the District Chapter of the Year, and last year we came in 3rd in voting for National Chapter of the Year.
Wow.
So the headquarters operation at SCORE has recognized the work of the 40 people who comprise our chapter.
That's remarkable, and I imagine some of the chapters you were up against had many more members than 40.
Oh, we're not a large chapter. Oh, no. We would be considered mid-sized at best with our 40. In some of the major metro areas, it's easily a chapter could easily have 100 to 200 members.
Incredible.
So we're not one of the big guys.
Well, be watching for more from SCORE. They're doing a good work in this area. Mike Johnson, thank you so much for your time.
It's been entirely my pleasure to be here.
Let's give canton.score.org. Find out everything there that we've been talking about.
Yeah, they'll find a list of the workshops that are coming up. They'll find out, they'll see profiles of some of our counselors. Sure, we're happy to have people walk in the door.
Well, it's been great visiting with you. Thanks so much for joining us on Our Community.
And thanks for inviting us.